Welcome to the Power 30 podcast. I'm Carson Fox.
And I'm Talon Smith, and we're sophomore adaptive track and field athletes at the University of Alabama.
Each week, we sit down with new guests for 30 rapid-fire questions about mindset, competition, and life in general. So our guest today's name is Ryan Kean. He is the long snapper for the University of Washington and a faithful Christian athlete. Ryan is actually a cousin of mine and has been a mentor of mine for as long as I've known him and helped me in my journey through chemo and has helped me to become a better Christian myself. To add on, he was by my side and re-taught me how to long snap after my amputation and has been like a second brother to me. Ryan, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So the first question that I have for you is, how old are you and where are you from?
I'm 22 years old from Corona, California.
Awesome. And is football the only sport you've played, and is long snapping the only position you've played?
I played different sports growing up. I used to think I was going to be a basketball player, and that didn't work out. But luckily, I found football. I played all different positions growing up. I was pee-wee football. It was just the tall kids were playing O-line, and so I played a lot of offensive line, and then got to high school. I played linebacker and receiver in high school, and then found long snapping and have long snapped ever since throughout college.
Awesome. And what's been the most memorable experience you've had in football, or like memory?
Man, I had a conversation just over the week. Saw a ton of family, and going into my last year, they're asking me what I'm going to miss the most about football, and I can bring up like so many games and so many experiences on Saturday that were awesome. Like even my first game at Utah Tech, we played at Montana State, and it was wasn't a huge stadium, but it was packed out with like 40,000 people, and they were just right on top of you, rowdy Montanans, and that game was cool. And then games like Ohio State and playing at the Big House against Michigan, like those are sweet. But like I think what I'm gonna miss the most is like the off season. Like I just got done with my last block of winter workouts, and like that portion of it, surrounded by like other men who are just going through that grind period, where we don't have games every week, so we can't really see the end result of what we're working towards. But I mean, we all have the same vision, and getting through that together and like building that brotherhood I think that I'm gonna miss out a lot for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. So getting into my first question is, what is your favorite Bible verse?
I feel like it's kind of seasonal for me. I feel like it kind of changes, and one that I love right now is 2 Corinthians 4:18. We do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why so? Why, you said that you kind of tag verses to seasons and stuff. So why is that the verse for the season that you're currently in?
Like I said, going into my last year, I've gone through a lot of reflection, and just kind of looking back at what my journey's been like. And for me, like failure's been a backdoor to success, my whole time in college. And it's been really important for me to focus on not what's going on and what I can see, but the things that are happening in the background and the things that are happening within those failures, and having a better perspective and looking forward about how this is going to like reshape who I am. And because God's in there in the background. Like there's been so many times where, and one of my favorite images, I was like scrolling through Instagram one day, and there's this image of somebody staring down the path of their life, and there's all these roadblocks and all these twists and turns, and then it shows him looking back, once he got to the end of that, and it was straight the whole time, and he didn't even realize it. And so just thinking about how so many things I've just been blessed with, and they've just came out of nowhere. And even when I thought like I would never get to where I am, or none of it was possible, like it just found a way to work out. And like I can see now looking back at it how everything was building slowly over time, and everything I went through, I needed. So
yeah, it's awesome. So my next question is what are some areas or aspects of your life that you apply the verse to?
I really think it's just like listening to different testimonies, um, and seeing how God's worked in the background of other people's lives. It just gives me a lot of confidence, when I'm going through hardships or when I don't think things are going to work out. It just leaning on God and, like I said, reflecting on my journey. That's given me a lot of comfort, and just knowing like time and time again, He's came through every single time without failure. So, why lose faith now?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely. So I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you obviously go to University of Washington now, and you previously went to Utah Tech. And so going through the transfer portal and all that, like what kept you motivated through like the times of uncertainty and when times were tough? What kept you motivated towards the goal of like playing football and competing again?
Well, that whole situation was really difficult. I knew I had the opportunity to move up and play on a bigger stage. And I've always had dreams of aspirations of playing in the NFL. And I loved Utah Tech, and I had such a strong community there. But I was almost ready for a bigger challenge. I just needed more. I feel like I needed more resources and better support, and so it was kind of a leap of faith. But it was scary, and it was a hard decision because I love being in Utah and St. George. Like I want to move back there one day when I'm done playing. But I just knew that I had to take a step outside of that and to be able to grow and like get to where I really want to be.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm glad it all worked out. Um,
Yeah.
and then what do you think one like lesson that you've learned from the adversity that you've been through has really taught you?
I think going through like all those changes and especially like transferring and all that, like, and it's been really recently that I've learned how important having a community is to me. Because I spent 3 years at Utah Tech, and you know, first year it was kind of like I was kind of building up and made some friends, and eventually got connected with the right people, and a few of us got together and started the FCA for the first time ever at Utah Tech. They didn't have it before. It's predominantly, a Mormon community. And that was something I always had in high school, and I knew I needed that. And so we got that started up about my second year there, and helped lead that huddle for about a year. And I mean, I was really comfortable with my community, and it was really strong. And then just to leave that was scary. I've been in Washington for the last year now, and I went through a time when I first got here where I was alone again, and I didn't have any of that community that I built over the last few years. And so it was really hard to like reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up finding myself and putting myself in situations where I was just chasing acceptance and doing things just to try and build that community back. But I wasn't doing it the right way. And it took some time, but recently we actually got a pretty strong off-season Bible study group going on in our locker room within the team. We have a great team chaplain. He's a former NFL player. Hunter Bryant played tight end at UW and played in the NFL for a couple of years and moved back here, and he's been serving us, and it's been really great. And I also made it like my New Year's resolution to read the Bible cover to cover, because I mean, I've read the Word like my whole life, but it's like I'll go in and I'll read a verse, but it's like I've never really gone through and read the whole story, I realized. And so I've kind of made that my goal. Maybe it might take a little more than a year, but it's something I really want to do. And as I've just continued to read and stayed consistent with it, like I've seen the fruit in my life, and like it's God's given me a lot of wisdom through it, and it's been really interesting. I try to break it up, and like I just finished Genesis. I'll do like a few chapters in the Old Testament, and then I'll do like a Psalm, and then I'm going through Matthew right now too. So I'll get a little bit of each, but that's been really key in my growth so far this year. And it took me a while, but got that community back, and I realized how much of an impact it has on me. So that's something I got to keep around in my life.
That's one thing I've definitely noticed too about coming to college is that you really do become the people that you hang out with, and the people that surround you have
Absolutely.
such an impact on you. I think that's also a reason like getting through chemo was so much easier. Having you as like a mentor and someone to motivate me and push me was definitely, very helpful because it was being surrounded with the right people day in and day out. And then I know you touched on FCA already, but how has involvement in things like FCA and your walk of faith changed the way that you approach football and the competition in general?
It really helps me keep a good perspective. It keeps me grounded, and I never want to lose my identity in football, which is really hard to do. And I felt that a little bit when I first got to Washington because, I went from like bottom of the FCS to like top of FBS, and so it was like kind of something that like guys at this level tend to feel is like I'm sure like players at the University of Alabama the same way. Like, shoot, we're at Alabama, we're at Washington. Like we're supposed to have some sort of status, which is, just not true. Nothing should change for me just because of the logo I wear. And so and especially with my position, it's very much a mental game. I'd say it's almost 75% mental than anything. I think there's a lot of guys who have the ability and talent that I do. But it's one thing to go out and snap a football on your own, and that's another thing to go out there and do it in front of 70,000 people day in and day out and perform at a high level all the time. And so, especially when you're on that stage, and if you have any sort of failure, like you can really fall into a rut. Like it can really weigh you down. And so, just keeping a good perspective and having my identity in the Lord, just helps me not fall into those pits. So yeah.
And then, obviously long snapping is a high pressure like environment always, and no one really knows your name until you mess up. So how do you keep yourself grounded and keep yourself calm during the high pressure moments? Like, pretty much every PAT, because once you mess up, everyone's eyes are on you. So how do you stay calm in the biggest pressure of moments?
A lot of mental training, a lot of positive self-talk. You have to stay really calm in those high pressure moments. And for me, what that looks like is my preparation. Everything I do before those moments, whether it starts now for me, like my confidence started building in January when we came back for workouts, like knowing that I did all the right things and have prepared my mind and my body to endure those moments, gives me confidence. And, especially like game day, like I got to be dialed, like I got to feel good. Like all my pregame snaps, like I got to make sure like I'm feeling slotted. Like quarterbacks will say that they feel slotted, like the ball's just coming out right. And, so I got to feel the same way. But my preparation's huge, and just, and then keeping that perspective that like every single snap that I have is the exact same. And it hasn't changed since the day I've done it, whether I was in high school or Utah Tech to Washington. It doesn't matter if there's 5 people watching or 50,000 people watching. Like, it's just me and the ball. The punter's at the same spot. Like, nothing changes. So just remembering that it's all the same, and just staying confident and being dialed in my preparation.
Totally.
Yeah, I can imagine how, that can calm your mind. You getting into the place of, it's all the same and stuff, and that can calm your mind, calm the anxiety, no matter if there's, like you said, 50,000 fans or 5. So my next question is, what advice would you give to someone who is struggling to trust the process in their sport?
Man, that's a tough one. It's kind of similar to how I was explaining the verse in Second Corinthians is like just listening to people's testimonies and finding comfort in that. That knowing that you've got your own story and people have been through the same, if not worse than you have, and like God's helped them pull through, and so just finding comfort in that. And just reflecting on their own journey too. Like I find a lot of comfort in that, and just kind of giving myself proof, like personal proof that God's worked miracles in my life and other people's lives, and just knowing that his love is unconditional no matter what season we are in our life, no matter what it is, he's always right there. And just even if they're going through some sort of failure, just knowing that, like, not looking at it like this sucks and it might, but just looking at it as an opportunity that they're going to grow and they're going to be challenged, and like they're just getting stronger.
Yeah. Yesterday I was thinking about something and just really remembering about, building that physical altar of remembrance, of like going back in times in your life where you remember when God came through for you, and that just builds your faith for your future of knowing that he will continue to do so. And my next question, you've hit on this a good bit, but what are some ways that you keep your eyes on God in your sport?
There's actually another verse that I love. I pull it up real quick. So it's Matthew 6, 22 through 23. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light within you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? And I've read this verse, I don't know how many times, but it was about a month ago. Like, it just stood out to me, and like something just clicked. And I remembered this moment when I was younger. My dad was teaching me how to ride a dirt bike, and I remember one thing he told me was, whenever you see something on the trail that you don't want to hit, like, don't look at it, because wherever your eyes are looking, you're going to take the bike. So if there's a huge rock that I don't want to hit because I'm going to wipe out, don't look at the rock. Like, look at the smooth part of the path.
I think I was there, and I think you did hit the rock, but
I did.
I remember you going down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's kind of similar to how I approach like discipline in my faith, because wherever your eyes are focused and directed towards, like, that's where your heart's going to follow.
Yeah.
And so just like being mindful of what you're putting in front of your eyes and what you're looking at, like that can be so many different things. I mean, especially like social media and being mindful of that, like, but just practicing that on the daily, like keeping the source of whatever's entering our minds, like through our eyes, and just being fixated on good things. And part of that's just like, I've tried to be more consistent of just being in the Word every day, and just having more community and making sure I'm going to church, and that's part of it. Just continuing to, fill yourself with the Holy Spirit, instead of letting other things take over and like getting distracted by, the big rocks on the path, because you don't want to hit them. Trust me.
I'm sure that wasn't a very fun experience. So my next question is, this is an interesting one. If you had a personal mission statement, what would it be?
This is something that I've realized as I've started to get older. I just got engaged recently last Sunday, a week ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so it's had me think a lot about my future and what I want that marriage and what I want my family to look like. And I think my mission statement is just like leading a good family, being a good father and a good husband, and doing it in God's image. I really want to be remembered as by my kids, especially as somebody who extended a strong hand for them when they needed help on their walk, um, and just leading my family the correct way and leading them towards Jesus.
Awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, you're gonna hate me for this one, but tell me a funny story. Tell me a funny story about long snapping, and in quotes, I have modern day setup.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the one.
A villain story. The start of the villain story.
Yeah, that was so. Yeah, that's a pretty funny story. So, I didn't start long snapping until my freshman year of high school, and it happened after like the first game of my freshman season. Uh, we played the first game and realized we don't really have somebody who can long snap, and so they had like open tryouts, and so I was a backup linebacker. I wasn't playing very much at all, so I was like, this is a good way to get on the field, and so I started doing it, and I did it my whole freshman year for our freshman team, and I didn't think too much of it. I was just like, I'm just getting out there, and it's a way to play. So my next year comes around. I'm in my sophomore year, and it's about a week before the first game, and we're opening up against Mater Dei, and so that's a big one.
Number one in the nation,
And
right?
literally a week prior, they're having me to start. I was snapping leading up to the season, and they already had a guy who did it the year before. And a week before the game, they just told me like, "Hey, you're going to start."
Wow.
I said, "Excuse me?" Like there was no conversation about it. I didn't even know I was in competition for the spot. And so then out of nowhere, all right, I'm starting on varsity and playing against Mater Dei. All right, cool. Let's do it. And so I played Thursday for JV, and then went out Friday, and we went to Santa Ana College. It was sold out. It was on live television. This was all very foreign to me. I'm not sure how prepared I was for that, but it taught me a lot. I mean, I run out there, I get over the ball. It's the first punt of the game. I'm like, oh, take a deep breath, I'm standing over the ball. And then my first mistake was just looking up at the crowd.
Oh.
My eyes started just looking at all the people. And I was like, oh, man. And I just remember being so nervous. I got over the ball. I was not thinking straight. And throw the ball back, and I start running downfield, and I hear some cheers, like something happened. I'm like, uh-oh. And I look back, and my punter's scrambling for the ball because I sailed it over his head. And after that day, my uncle actually told me, he told my dad, he was like, dude, I don't think your son's ever gonna play again.
Yeah. Wow.
My head coach gave me another chance, and he still trusted me and had faith in me, and never did that again. That was the last time. One and done.
I love it. And then earlier when you were talking about FCA, you touched on having mentors, and the guy you said was a tight end, right, at UW?
Yeah.
How is having mentors and people like that, like helping guide you through life, how has that really affected you and helped guide your path along college through football?
Man, I feel like I've had a ton, and they've came in all ways, shapes, and forms. Like even like starting back in high school. I mean, there's guys you look up to. There's teammates. My head coach in high school was a legend, phenomenal human being, Coach Logan. My receiver coach, Coach Burrell, he actually helped lead the FCA at my high school, and so he was an important mentor for me. Amazing human being. And then getting into college, like all the older guys. I went to Utah Tech, and there's a lot of Mormons, so a lot of the guys they go on missions, and so the majority of the freshmen we had were like 20 years old already
Wow.
because they would go on mission for 2 years. And it's like I had a lot of mature men that I shared the locker room with, and I was going in there at 18 years old, and it was intimidating, but there were a lot of guys who were married, and there were a lot of guys who had kids, and so it was like I got to learn a lot from them, and there was a lot of really cool people I got to meet. I shared a room for 3 years while I was there with my kicker Ilya, and he made a huge impact on my life. That dude is just a true grinder. Like his work ethic has inspired me as I've worked my way up the ranks of college football, and starting FCA at Utah Tech was hard, but I had a lot of help. My guy Ron he helped me out a lot, and I was very unsure about stepping into a role like that and being a leader because it's something I had never done and I wasn't comfortable with it. Also, my special teams coach at the time, Coach Hall, he helped guide me through that, and I didn't feel prepared to be able to like share stories about the Bible and like teach people. I didn't feel qualified at all, but I kind of got thrown into the fire, and I realized that God doesn't call perfect people to serve for Him, and I grew so much through that, and it was amazing. And yeah, now the chaplain at Washington's been amazing. Hunter Bryant. I mean, I don't think he has anything published out there about his testimony yet, but I hope he does one day because it's a crazy story. And it's truly inspiring. He flipped his whole life around and just devoted his whole life to Jesus, and it's brought him here to us. And now seeing like the transformations that guys are going through and the impact that our community's had, like it's amazing. And I can go on and on. I mean, there's been so many people, so many coaches, so many teammates, friends, parents. Like there's so many, but. Yeah, I mean, especially now, like I'm an older guy. I'm going into my last year, and I have to seek a lot of advice from guys in the past who have led before and what that looks like. Because what I do now is very important for the development of like the high school kids in my room, like the high school kickers and whoever else comes in, and just set the standard. And yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Having coaches and teammates that believe in you really just bring you to a different level, and having someone believe in you and actually show that they believe in you, not just say it, is something that is just you can't put a value to. So my next question is kind of a 3-part question. What are 3 pillars that you live your life by?
Well, I would say God, and I think of this as like if I'm in middle school, like I got like the three words like with the emojis in them.
Yeah.
If I were to do that, it would be like God, family, which are like the basic ones, but I'd put community in there. Community is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be those 3.
Yeah. So kind of, I guess going a little deeper, like why those 3? So why God, why community, and why family? So
I mean, God is, I have to put Him at the forefront of everything. He's given me everything I have. And I wouldn't be here without Him. And so, and I've felt His presence, and when I've put Him at the forefront of my life, I felt His presence, and I can see what He can do. And it's really important, especially like with my future marriage and with all my relationships. Like those are not going to be successful if I don't put God first. So He's got to come first in everything I do. Yeah. My family is extremely important to me. I've got a really big family. I'm going to start growing my own family here pretty soon. I like I said, it's really important for me to be a good husband, a good father. And I've always been a very loyal person. So, those people in my family, like, they come first. Not before God, but they're really important to me. And then the community, that recently I found that that's something that's essential for my walk, and it's something I need. And just having people around me that can have a good impact, and I can have conversations with and grow in my faith with them. And it's kind of been a struggle thinking about being done with football possibly after this year. I mean, we'll see what happens, but just being away from a locker room and being away from stuff like FCA and stuff like that, it concerns me a little bit. But recently I went to like this men's group at my church out here in Seattle, and it was at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. And I remember waking up that morning and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, I do not want to be doing this right now. And it's like we go to a church that's pretty far. So it was like a 30-minute drive. It was 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, man, what am I doing? Why did I sign up for this? Some of the guys in the Bible study convinced me to. And I was like, oh, like I was just so tired and dreading it. But then I got there and we sat down with this. It was me and some of my teammates. So we sat down at a table, and then this man named Craig came and sat down with us. And then another young man came and sat down with us. And we just had like some of the greatest conversation. And this dude, Craig, was just spewing ball knowledge. Like,
Wow.
he had so much wisdom. Like, he was just going. And I was like, man,
Wow.
like, I'm so glad I did this. And I was like, I didn't even know like things like this existed. Like, these are just a bunch of like regular dudes who are just taking time out of their week for the Lord and to grow with other men. And so it's like, man, that's awesome. I know that's here now. That comforts me, knowing that like when I'm done with football, like I can get into something like that and have my community.
And I like how that also ties into how we were talking on the people that you surround yourself with, how that affects the way that you like go through life. Because if you didn't surround yourself with like the right Christians, the right athletes, you wouldn't have woken up. You would have just been like, I'm going back to sleep. But since they kind of pushed you to get there and brought you out, it had that effect, and you were able to have that experience, which is awesome.
Yeah.
My next question is kind of just a general broad question. What's on the top of your bucket list right now?
Man, right now it's getting married. I've got to plan a wedding now. I planned this whole proposal, and I got through that moment. It was so special. It was so amazing. And I'm like, shoot, now I just want to get married. Like, we gotta start planning this wedding, chipping away at that. So definitely getting married. Finishing the Bible, that's a huge goal of mine. Cover to cover, I want to read every single word. I even like the little like family trees that it goes through in the Old Testament, like Joseph, father Jacob, and I'm like, I've even started reading those because I'm like, it might give me like some baby name ideas. I don't know. Like, I think every word is worth reading. I might hear one and be like, oh, I can name my son that. I don't know. But I even started reading those. But like, really want to finish the Bible.
Okay.
I got to leave the country.
Oh,
I haven't left the country. I was having this conversation with my grandma last night actually, and she was talking about how she used to do these trips to Mexico, and I've literally never been out of the country. I don't even have a passport, and so I need to leave the country at some point. Yeah, that's at the top for me right now.
Yeah. And then now that you're older and you've been through so much in sport and football, and grown so much, how is the adversity that you've been through and the lessons that you've been taught like changed the way that you're going to approach your life after football?
I think it was just like, I think it helps me to go back and like trust the unseen. And there's going to be a lot of unseen in the next season of my life after football. I don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, I feel great knowing that I know what I have a partner that I'm going to be doing life with. I have Jesus, and I'm going to have my wife, and so that's really comforting. But just thinking about and reflecting on all the unseen I've already had in my life, and like all the places I never imagined I'd see, but God's taken me there. Like, why couldn't He do the same? Beyond football. Like, there's so much more to that. He's always found a way to work everything out. As long as I've had just unwavering faith and worked really hard, like just trusting God and working really hard, like good things are gonna come. So whether it's football that I get to continue to play or it's something else, just trusting God's plan and just working really hard.
For sure.
That's awesome. We talked about Romans 8:28 at church today, that for we know that God works all things out for the good of those who love Him and who've been called according to His purpose. And that's a verse that you're walking into a lot of uncertain times in your life, and what's next? What am I going to do? And that and we all know that God works all things for good, and no matter what happens, it's all going to be good because it's part of God's plan. And
Yep.
so,
amen.
My next question is, what are some small ways that you see God in your everyday life?
Man, I'm a little bit of a freak when it comes to this, but like I think about all the bad that could happen in my life, like daily, and I always fill myself with gratitude because there's so many little things, like just getting to wake up in the morning and being healthy, being rested, being able to drive wherever I need to go and not be harmed. Like, I mean, there's been times on the road. I mean, I'm sure everybody's experienced it. Like they've had close calls, but I mean, you could have been a second earlier or a second later, and it could have been a lot worse. But I think I just fill myself with gratitude daily that God keeps me safe. I also see it in the way I interact with people, and I try to be intentional with every conversation I have and who I have them with. And I'm so lucky I get to be surrounded with so many different people every day, and just have the opportunity to share His love to so many people. I think I see Him and the way He works through me in those situations.
Yeah. So my next question is, what does football mean to you?
Well, football's changed my life in so many ways that I would have never imagined. Like I said, I get so many unique experiences to go places and meet so many different people. A lot of great people. And I wouldn't say I years ago I would have said football's everything to me, but it's not. I love football. And I think it's a way to glorify God, not with my body, with my work ethic, with my interactions with people, because you get to express that constantly throughout every day. But I think it's a vessel to help move people, like being able to be on a stage where we have a lot of fans, we have a lot of young fans, there's so many kids who look up to us, and just having that platform I think is so special and so important for me to take advantage of it. And I just look at, even if I get to play in the NFL, which would be amazing, like I'm still only playing football for maybe 20 years of my life. And so what is that really? And what am I going to do after that? Like, I can have a great football career, but if I don't live the rest of my life the same way and have a great career in the whatever I do afterwards and continue to grow as a person, then what I did while I was playing football like none of it matters.
Yeah.
And so football's helped me grow and give me a lot of great experiences, but I think it's just something that's set me up to grow as a person and spread God's love afterwards.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think, you know, as Christian athletes, it's such a beautiful thing to see our sport as a vessel and as an opportunity to reach people and build relationships, not just on the surface, but to build a meaningful relationship that goes beyond like hi, how are you, and stuff like that, and just to be around like-minded people that you get to build with every day is just a beautiful blessing from the Lord. And so, for my final question is, who would you say your biggest role model in your sport is?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I could pick one. I mean, I have so many, like I've said, like there's been so many people who have supported me, and made sacrifices for me. I mean, my parents, like growing up, like going to my little peewee games and just being patient with me and sacrificing their time to take me to practice and do all those things. And even when I was just a kid and they didn't know if it was going to turn into anything bigger, like they always just were there to support me. Um, my fiance has made such a great impact on me. Um, Ever since I met her, like she's made me want to focus on becoming a better man and not just a better football player. Um, she's also just supported me unconditionally. Like we were long distance for a while. I was at Utah Tech, and I mean, she was planning on transferring schools, but I kind of dragged her out to Utah, and we were in Utah together for a while, and then I ditched her and came out here. But there was never like a moment where she wanted to hold me back from this. And so like that sacrifice that she's made is it means a lot to me. My high school coach, like I've said, like he was such a great mentor. Um, I mean, he prepared me really, really well for college football, but also just, life outside of football and becoming a better man. My buddy Jake, he's been through a lot, man. He's played quarterback at BYU and Tulane, and that's how a lot of people know him. But not a lot of people know him as, the quarterback at Golden West or Riverside Community College. 2 different JUCOs, 2 different years. He went to UTEP and came home 2 days later, and like there's a situation where it just didn't work out. He had to come back home and do another year of JUCO. Like he's gone through so many hardships, and especially like us being both playing college football and like being able to do it together and learn from each other, and both like seeing each other go through hardships and come out of it on top. Like, I mean, that's been super inspiring. His story to me has been really inspiring. Awesome. And just a bunch of other teammates that I've had throughout my playing days. Like, yeah, I've been around some really special guys. Like, it's been really cool. But yeah,
that's awesome.
And then 4 last rapid fire questions that we were going to ask every guest. So, what is one quote that you live by?
Ooh, quote that I live by. There's a saying that my stepdad will always say, and it's like everything's earned, not given.
That's awesome. Okay, and then our next question is, where can people follow you?
Where can people follow
Instagram,
me?
All that stuff.
Oh yeah, Instagram, Kean.Ryan, Kean. Twitter, it's a lot of football stuff, but funny enough, I'm getting active on Facebook now. I'm gonna be a married man.
Old, man. He's getting unk status.
Yeah, I gotta get some content out there for the old folk, but I'm trying to get active on Facebook.
And then what's next for you as far as football goes?
I don't know, but God's gonna work something out. Whether it's
That's a
with or
great
without
answer.
football, I know I'm gonna be a disciple of Christ and be a husband soon too. So I'm really excited.
And then our final question for you is, what's one message or thing that we touched on today that you want the listeners to remember or just leave with?
Community. I think that's a really important one. And I think you guys are doing it right now. Like what you guys are doing, sitting here, two athletes, both share love for Christ. I mean, you guys are going to do really special things, and like the power that even just two people have together versus one is big. It's big, and it's super important. And yeah. So even if there's one person who listens to this and is touched by a single word that came out of this, like you're moving mountains with that.
Yeah.
So just you guys keep going and remember that.
Oh yeah. Well,
Special.
Ryan, thank you for your time and good luck with this upcoming season. And thank you for tuning in to the Power 30 podcast.